Alright guys, remember the Super Pac-Man cabinet that looked so fire? This looked fantastic. I'm quite excited about the Miss Pac-Man cocktail cabinet for a bunch of reasons. The games list, the look of the cabinet, the fact that it's a cocktail. I've been wanting a second cocktail for a while. But this popped up, and it has a lot of the same games as the Miss Pac-Man cocktail. It doesn't have Miss Pac-Man, obviously, but it has some overlap. So I was starting to think, well, this is going to be a tough decision. Do I get the Super Pac cab that looks very authentic, or, and really the main difference is this T-molding. It's not real T-molding, it's just a tape, but you know what I mean, that accent color. That's the main difference in the look. Now, the shape of the control panel is different too. The real cabinet, the side panels were shaped like a Pac-Man mouth. I thought it looked kind of garish, actually, the original design, so I had no complaints. This design, in my opinion, is superior. But the main highlight and only highlight is this. The control panel and monitor are completely flush and fully recessed into the cabinet, and that's how Pac-Man used to be. That there were a number of cabinets that were oriented this way, and I don't know what it was, but it drew you into the cabinet. It's a goofy thing, but it was impactful. It was an important part of the arcade design. Seeing this, I thought was hype. Now, I was a little suspicious that it wasn't real, simply because it's one thing to do a custom side panel artwork for Costco. It's another thing altogether to do a wholly different design. If you had this design in your back pocket, why would you not just do it for all of your Pac-Man variants and Galaga and everything else? Well, now we know what's real, and that is the cabinet is real, the games list is real, but the monitor is not real. The control panel is not real. Here's the problem. Perpendicular. There's a right angle here between the control panel and the monitor. That is not authentic. It's still a good looking cabinet, don't get me wrong. It's still got a good games list. I'm not saying don't buy this cabinet. I'm just saying the main thing that made this cabinet hype for me and for a lot of people, it wasn't the glow on the back, it was this. We don't get it. We get that. I find that disappointing. For me, then, this is an easy pass. I think I'm going to stick with the Miss Pac-Man cocktail, although to be honest, I'm still waiting to see if we're going to get Miss Pac-Man stools, if they're going to be readily available. There's a real problem with stool availability, and that they come in, you got to pay more than the $79 retail price because they're so hard to get. And occasionally they'll show up and occasionally they won't. But if you're going to release a big Miss Pac-Man cocktail, I think you got to have the stools to back that up. Hopefully we get good retail availability of the stools. But yeah, this is real. This has been found in Costco. I guess let's double check the games list. The games list is the same. So the rumor was right. The slide was right. The artwork was not. And I do wonder, why will they not just build this cabinet? I suspect it's because the marquee would be in the way. If you're standing here looking down, maybe you can't quite see the top of the monitor. But there are ways to design around that. We saw with Burger Time, they recessed the monitor back into the middle of the cabinet. We saw that with Pac-Man 40th. They didn't do it here. They pushed it back up closer to the front, not quite in the middle. I guess it's a little recessed. But why couldn't you push it back further? I'm not a fan of that look, but it would be worth it to get the recessed monitor, or make the marquee a little bit narrower. And so if the marquee has less space on the bottom, then you'd have more room to view. I would think there's a way to design around that, but I don't know. Maybe these guys tried it. Clearly they tried it. This is the look they wanted to go for. Maybe this cost more to make. Although I doubt it, because Star Wars had a similarly angled control panel. They had no problem with that. The real cost on Star Wars was the yoke. This is simply a joystick and a couple buttons. This shouldn't be a very expensive unit to make. And again, as always, I'm going to remind you, this is a $400 cabinet, but you're not getting an IL or a HAP or even a Sanwa stick. You're getting a clone stick that's not going to be razor sharp. It's not going to feel super heavy. And most importantly, it's not going to last. I don't believe these are going to last as long as the real ones. I'm already seeing some wear and tear on my Burger Time stick. So that would be the other issue with this cabinet. What do you guys think? Are you getting Pac-Man fatigue, or is this the one where you're finally going to jump in? I think a lot of us have learned our lesson and we're now sort of biding our time and waiting for the version that we really like and not just buying the first one that's available. Is this that version for you? Are you ready to upgrade your Pac-Man? I've got an original Pac-Man, and I'll tell you, I don't mind upgrading it every couple years. I don't. I used to have an issue with that, but I've come to terms with it. I can sell it, buy a new one, not the end of the world. If it's a game title I really like, I can dig it. But if I had just bought the Pac-Man 40th 1 month ago and then this dropped and I was a big fan of Super Pac and I thought this looked awesome, I'd be pretty frustrated. So let me know what you think in the comments. Appreciate you watching. Make sure to subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll talk to you guys later.